You served with distinction, won a couple of medals for your service, but you also were a local celebrity. You had a show, a television show in Iraq called Molten and Muhammad.
Molten and Muhammad with my translator, Muhammad, and I mean, we were celebrities. I mean, I used to get fan mail. I used to have to sign autographs in the street. I mean, no one asks me for my autograph now as a member of Congress. So this is a total step down in terms
and
of
so
career.
so here are you and your translator. That's Muhammad there. So what was the show? Like, what did you guys, what was the goal of broadcasting in Iraq to people who had obviously never had non-state controlled television?
Well, it was amazing because we actually believed in the Marine Corps that a free media was important to a democracy. Sort of a crazy concept these days. But the first thing we had to do is we just had to get something on TV because all this TV station had ever done was play tapes from the Ministry of Information in Baghdad. So the first thing we did is we got a DVD player, hooked it up to a transmitter, and these Iraqis used to put in movies, American movies they would get from the market, and watch them for the first time while simultaneously broadcasting them to millions of Iraqis across the country. And the mistake we made is we forgot to explain the rating system.
Okay, gotcha.
So what would happen is they'd get to a racy section of an American film, and they'd quickly hit eject, and they had this 10-volume set of Islamic history videos that they would put in to sort of calm everybody down. But one night, they didn't switch quickly enough. The movie was Basic Instinct.
Oh, that's one you want to switch, yeah.
And so the next day, there were protests. I mean, men throwing rocks, women wailing in the streets. Mohammed, my translator, and I, just because we were sort of in charge of the TV station, we got death threats. At the end of a very long day, I turned to Mohammed and I said, let's go get tea with the Iraqi police, because these are guys in their 20s and 30s. Like, surely they wouldn't be so offended by what was on TV last night. And it was a great cultural lesson for me, because I walked into this room full of young Iraqi men, and they were immediately irate. They were yelling and screaming at me. And I turned to Mohammed and I said, Mohammed, what are they saying? And he said, sir, they say every time you put a movie on TV, you turn it off right when we get to the good part.
So a lot of similarities with 20-year-olds here in the States as well. One of the things you are hoping to do is recruit a new generation of people in public service that come from the military. Veterans can have great purpose here of serving in office. What is it about veterans that you think is important for our political system?
Well, look, I wouldn't be here if not for being a veteran. I mean, I didn't grow up interested in politics or anything like that. I was actually recruited by a nonprofit trying to get veterans to run for office at a time when we've never had fewer veterans in Congress in our nation's history than we do today. And when I decided to run, it was because the congressman in my home district, Congressman Bates' successor, he managed to pass one bill in 18 years. He was incredibly partisan. I was like, look, if no one is willing to stand up to him, then this system is never going to change. So the problem was, I was so naive about politics, I didn't know that you're not supposed to take on an 18-year incumbent in your own party. And so the whole national Democratic establishment was against me. They said, you're going to lose. And by the way, you will never run for anything again in politics because you don't challenge the establishment. And fundamentally, what they were saying to me as a veteran was, do not participate in the democracy you risk your life to defend. And that's wrong.
And so you had this interesting situation, which is now you're in this very partisan Washington, D.C., but kind of your first political battle was against your own party. Do you feel like that puts you in a better situation to deal with all these different...
Look, the party establishment has gotten us into a terrible position right now. I mean, we don't control anything in Washington. And so I think it's time for a new generation of Democrats to step up and run. And the thing about veterans is they know how to challenge the establishment. They're not afraid to take on the people in control. They're not afraid to put people over politics or over their political party. And I've got 19 unbelievable candidates that I've endorsed and encouraged to run and everything. People like Mikey Sherrill, right down in New Jersey, who's taking on the chairman of the House Appropriations Committee. I mean, the chairman of the House Appropriations has more money flowing under his pen than any politician in the world. And she just scared him out of the race because she's such an incredible leader. She's a Navy helicopter pilot. She's killing it. She's going to win. And we've got to, I think that, the problem right now is we've got to look ourselves in the mirror as Democrats and recognize that we've lost. Like, we stand for the right things, but we've lost a lot of elections, and unless we're willing to change, unless we're willing to make some difference, unless we're willing to stand up and talk about where we think we should take America, rather than just bashing the Republicans, let's talk about our vision for America. Let's talk about how we're going to tackle the economy and national defense. Like, let's talk about what we're going to do, not just what Trump is doing wrong.
I think one of the things Trump did, obviously, is he had these very bold policy proposals in the 2016 election. Now, whether or not any of them were rational, they were certainly bold. What do you think in the next, not only 2018, but 2020, what are the bold policy proposals that Democrats need to take?
Look, one of the things we have to do is tackle the economy. And the reality is a lot of people in America are getting left out of the economy. And it's not because of what Trump says. It's not because immigrants are taking jobs. It's because they're being automated out of existence. I mean, literally, robots are taking jobs. So rather than take Trump's strategy of let's go back into the coal mines and pretend it's 1955, let's actually embrace the new economy and talk about how everybody in America, no matter where you live, has a meaningful role to play in the economy of the future. Let's talk about how we can actually expand healthcare access to everybody in America rather than quibble about how many people are going to lose health care. Let's talk about what a democratic vision of national defense is, where we build alliances across the globe and promote peace rather than try to start wars with North Korea. I mean,
that all sounds very good to me. I hope that everybody else wants to hear that message well. Thank you so much for making the time to come here.
Hey, thank you, Seth.
Thanks for taking care of Massachusetts 6. Congressman Seth Moulton, everybody.